Hello everyone and welcome to Layer by Layer. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to sip a little bit of hot chocolate here while we do this because I have a cold because I have no idea why. I think I just haven't been sleeping enough, so is what that is. But first item on the agenda, as seems to be a standard topic of conversation here lately, is Filament, the Filament launch. So we sold out of the Filament in 43 minutes. For everybody who came to the video, and that video was viewed about 30 to 35,000 times, I believe, right now, thank you so much, and we're so sorry that we ended up kind of faking you out and not having any there. We're working to rectify that. We thought about activating pre-orders for Filament, but we honestly, right now, we don't have a set timeline of when that Filament would ship. So we don't want to do pre-orders right now, even if that potentially hurts us. There is an option underneath that video to sign up for the newsletter, which we will only talk to you about with Filament on. We're not going to give you any other sort of updates. It's just for Filament. So sign up for that newsletter and we'll let you know when we get reactivated. As far as how it went, that was a very successful test. And again, thank you guys so much for that support. It's really great. It's very clear that everybody's jazzed about it. We hope that you'll be jazzed with the material when it arrives. Right now it is being, well, actually it'll have been shipped by the time this goes out. But the Filament will be going out. It is downspooled from main production material there. I want to set expectations here. We are going to be making a function-forward product, so it will be bare bones. As we've discussed many times before, it's some spools in a box. That's what it is. Over time, we will continue to improve it, but there will undoubtedly be some hiccups along the way. That is not to qualify any sort of errors that we make. If there's a problem with the Filament, please let us know, because we have to be able to fix them. Please give us that feedback so that we can get better on all of that stuff. But please be patient if there is something that goes wrong at first, because we're ramping this up, and during a ramp up, there's always some kind of challenges because there's just things that we don't know or didn't realize, or something goes wrong. If your Filament is driven over by a truck on the way to you, please allow us time to get it addressed. That being said, the next steps for Filament right now are to make sure we don't go out of stock again. So the things that we are doing is currently we've started up design of the new website for Filament. We're working on names for it. We really wanted to call it Tangled because it's funny, but it's really close to our Angled website, which is where all this stuff was sold through. So we don't want to have it be that close. We might do something as boring as calling it Slant 3D Filament, but we're messing with a few other names too. But we'd kind of be a little bit tongue-in-cheek with it because, quite frankly, I was looking through all the names of Filament out there, and they kind of suck. No offense to anybody else who makes Filament, but they're all not very good. And we think we can improve the name of Filament just a little bit so at least it's playful or fun a bit, and one word as opposed to some combination of the word filament and something else. Because we are not going to do fill us something, or we're not going to do something meant. It's not going to be that way. We cannot possibly use a name like that. It's not. We just can't. But anyway, we're building out the website for that new Filament brand. It will be set up as a subscription, that subscription will purchase you basically free shipping of the Filament, and you will also have the option to just buy Filament as it comes. The subscription guarantees free shipping and a certain amount of Filament per month, and it'll be kind of like a subscription box, so you can order like 3, 5, or 10 spools of Filament, and then you can mix and match what those spools are from month to month. So you might want some PETG black or some white PLA or whatever it happens to be as materials are released. So hopefully for folks with smaller print farms, it's a way to kind of get rid of that irritation of having to re-up on material. And if you're a larger print farm, we will probably put in a subscription option for large quantities of Filament. For the guys in that case, quite frankly, what you're paying for is the shipping, the reliability, and quite frankly, kind of the warehousing of the material, because we have to store it for you so that when your order comes through, it is delivered. So that's essentially what the subscription is paying for. Reliable supply, free shipping, and an amount of warehousing. And then, of course, the material itself, but that's built in. We hope all of that will be coming out probably within, I'm going to say, about 2 to 3 weeks. We will have that site semi-released. We want to get feedback from this batch of filament first to make sure that there's nothing weird or obvious that we're screwing up. Just a moment. My voice is kind of gone. This helps. Yeah, we want to get the feedback from this batch first. And we want to take all the learnings that we kind of had from this. Like, quite frankly, some of you ordered some odd number of spools and you jacked up all of our box sizes, which is a good problem to have. But we need to go through and do like a really deep analysis of like, okay, what is going to happen here? What's going to happen here? We've kind of proven it out. We've gotten the MVP out there right now with this first batch launch, but now we need to go through and refine it and turn it into a good functioning system inside of the company so that it's not cumbersome for us, so that we don't get angry at it. So that it's a good experience for all of you guys. Because it's not something that we want to just kind of ramp up overnight, even though it's kind of ramped up overnight. It's been like 2 months since the original videos around this came out. And we've started a filament brand. So there'll be more updates on that. We'll keep you guys updated on it. We won't give you day by day of those. That's kind of what this podcast is for. Again, that newsletter is for notifications of when filament is available. As far as what the pricing of the filament will be, quite bluntly, we took a kind of a little bit of a loss on this round as far as shipping and that kind of stuff because we wanted to kind of test price point and that kind of thing. So the prices will continue to kind of morph and change a bit from what they were here at this batch. We hope they don't go up or anything like that. They shouldn't. We hope that they continue trending down because we want to basically give ourselves kind of a quarterly review of like how much closer did we get to that $10 per spool. The $10 per spool is very clearly not going to happen on a 1 kilogram format. So everybody who's been down there asking, is this going to work with Bamboo Labs AMS? No. The $10 per spool filament is not going to work on Bamboo Labs because we're not going to do a 1 kilogram $10 spool. It will be $10 per kilogram, but it will probably be on larger formats like 2.5 or 3.5, something along those lines. That is the direction that it is trending right now because there's just so much there's so much optimization that has to be done. As far as things that will occur is that we're going to continue kind of sorting out material suppliers, which we pretty much already have because, again, we've been making this for ourselves. The suppliers are all there. We want to get PETG implemented. PETG is something that we didn't really want to scale up, especially for consumer product, because PETG is a little bit more finicky to process. And that's fine for us because we have places to put like rejects and that kind of stuff, and we're not that angry at ourselves if we made bad filament. But if you guys get a spool, it needs to be a good spool. PETG is hydroscopic, so it absorbs water out of the air, which means that you end up with air bubbles inside of it. In order to turn it into filament, you have to first dry it extensively, and then you run it through the machine. All the while through that machine, which it runs through water, ironically, even if it's PETG, as it goes through that machine, it is then spooled again and needs to be sealed up fairly quickly. Before it absorbs water out of the air. Now, we're in Idaho, so we have one of the lowest humidities of the United States. So quite frankly, if we vacuum seal a bag right here, there's no reason for a desiccant pack because the air inside of that bag is drier than any air it will ever encounter anywhere else in the country. But for the PETG, processing it, keeping it dry is a hassle that, again, in the production context is fairly easy, but in the consumer context is very telling because the 1-star review really ruins your day. And if it's something that was avoidable, like the wetness of the filament, we want to make sure that it's very stable and a very low potential occurrence of that because we don't want to have you guys buy bad filament. And we will own those when we do that kind of stuff, but we'd rather just kind of avoid them. So we want to just make sure that the product is really good when it goes out. So PETG will be implemented, and PETG will probably be what the $10 kilogram will be, just because PETG is a more commoditized material than PLA. However, initially, and for these first couple months or so, it's going to mainly be PLA materials simply because it is more forgiving. PLA is an easier material to process and create a good quality result for in a consumer context. And it's also a material that more people are familiar with how to use. So like PETG can have stringing if it's not properly tuned for. And that stringing would be attributable to the material, not necessarily the machine settings, which is another reason we don't really want to do it for consumer products until it's really dialed in. And we also, quite frankly, probably have some settings to share along with it. So that's kind of the context of Filament. It went really well. Thank you guys one more time. Sold out very quickly, and now we need to build up the structure to make sure that we don't sell out again. Because I think in the context of Filament, selling out is one of the biggest sins. Because within our context as a manufacturing thing, suppliers not getting stuff to you when you expect it to be there is a fundamental sin. And if we are going to be a supplier for other print farms who are either running Etsy stores or small businesses or companies or whatever it happens to be, we need to be reliable. So we need to build the structure, the material, and everything else around it to make sure that that reliability is there. So we're going to push on kind of refining the rough edges here from this first little batch. All right. Next thing, news. There probably won't be a news video this week, guys, because again, my face and my voice are all kind of shot right now. But we will get those reactivated and go through stuff. There's a number of stories that are piling up right now that we need to get out. So that video will be fairly long. Oh, also, there will be a Reacts video coming out very soon. We're going to take a number of you guys have sent over submissions. We've sorted through those, and we're going to pull the ones that we like. And then we are also going to just kind of go through Thingiverse and printables and all those other areas and pull files that are interesting. And we're going to do a Reacts video. And it's going to be kind of a manufacturing engineer reacts to it, where I'm going to get to look at them and kind of give first impressions. And I'm not really necessarily going to be gentle, because I think it's good to learn from your mistakes. But at the same time, it's got to be fun and interesting. So we hope we find some fun and interesting models and the rest of it. If there's any models you think we ought to take a look at in that, please comment down below, because that helps a lot as finding what is interesting. Also, weird side news, we wanted to do the Baker's Cube for this video, and the Baker's Cube, which is probably one of my favorite 3D models ever, is no longer available on Thingiverse. Or any of the repositories. It's gone. Which I get. I understand why somebody would pull that, but yeah, it's kind of weird that somebody would pull that, because it's been around since like 2014, 2015, somewhere along that line. It's been around a while. But it's one, I would say, a pinnacle of 3D printed model design, and it's now no longer on the record. So if anybody knows where that is, let us know. We'd love to find that model again to display and share with folks. Beyond that, there's not too much other news or conversations of topics around news. There was one thing about the Creality machine. Some folks had asked, okay, yeah, there's a couple of comments here. The Creality K1, I believe, is what it is. Some folks have asked for feedback on that. And I've kind of talked about the high-speed machines before. Speed is not really kind of a primary metric that is useful in manufacturing. For me, in the context of viewing that machine from a design perspective, it seems like a knee-jerk reaction. It seems like it needs some refinement. And this is what Creality is really well known for, with the Enders and all the rest of it, is starting out with a thing and then making that thing better over time. And the K1 looks like it needs to be made better over time. But anyway, all that stuff happened. And lastly, there was a reaction to comments. There was a comment, this is a 3D printing channel with shows no 3D printers. First of all, watch more than like one of our videos. Not to be like a jerk, but like we've shown hundreds, literally, of 3D printers on this channel. Because that's what we do. We are a mass production 3D printing operation. Cheers. And yes, I'm sure there's just B-roll running through all the videos of racks and racks of 3D printers. That's us. The printers inside of our facility are version 1 through 14. we are what I would consider a scrappy organization. So many of the printers were originally manufactured with leftover filament from like client projects and that kind of stuff. So if you ever look at like any of our B-roll footage, you'll see like a lot of colors. And that's because they were made from leftover materials because we didn't want to waste any materials there. Slant 3D is not venture backed or anything like that. We're fully bootstrapped. So the factory itself is built with many colors, which is fine, is what it is. They're function first, not really form. They're meant to be highly reliable and highly scalable. That's the point of the slant box machines, and that's the thing we've always kind of pushed towards. But as far as not showing through, the other thing that I'd like to address is if folks have not caught on to this already, we are not really a 3D printing channel. We are, of course we are. Yes, we're a mass production 3D printing company. But the channel is not about the machines. It's not about the machines at all. It's about how to use the process to create good products. This is what we hope to convey inside of these videos. How do you create a good real-world product with FDM processes? And this is something that people don't really understand because so much of FDM has been kind of hobby-led, which is great because there's a lot of really cool ideas out there, but not much of it has been formalized and not much of it has been made scalable. It's like the idea of like, oh, using a brim rather than mouse ears because mouse ears take a lot of effort in CAD. Well, that's true, and the brim's really fast and easy if you're making one part. But if you are making tens of thousands, which is kind of what we do, the mouse ears become really useful. And that's one of those subtleties that kind of separates us is that we focus on production, manufacturing. How do you take a product and design it well and then produce it in large quantities? And quite frankly, guys, this whole channel is sort of an ad. I mean, quite frankly, we are talking about what we know about in order to hopefully find some clients occasionally. I mean, not to break the illusion there, but we want this to be not just a good deed necessarily, but it needs to be able to help the company in some kind of a way. So we have a lot of selfish intentions in this, in creating this content, but we also think that it's excuse me. But that's okay because the introduction of this information is very necessary and very useful in all kinds of other areas. And we think that the sharing of the information, even though we hope and aspire to bring in clients, the information itself helps to spread and disseminate around the industry so that people can better utilize this process, which helps grow the industry as a whole. So this channel has kind of a multi-pronged kind of a approach to it of like, yes, it's kind of an ad for our services. We're not going to talk about things that don't really relate to what we do, mainly because we are experts in this, in what we do. So we should only talk about what we kind of know about. Just not kind of know about. We should only talk about the things we know about. And then the rest of it is to have this information disseminated so that it helps the industry as a whole. And that includes all of you guys who are viewing and maybe use this on a weekend project or use it within your company or anything else along those lines. Having good practices explained and demonstrated can't hurt anyone. And information sharing has never killed a company. I don't think. But there's that. Thank you guys so much again for watching. This is going to be kind of a short one because, again, I'm a little bit sick and I need to go to bed, and it's about 11 p.m. right now. So I'm going to sign off right there. Comment down below if there's other topics that you guys want us to cover next week. We'll do a longer show then and do a quicker podcast there. But we wanted to give you an update about Filament and say thank you one more time for all of that because it's very clearly something that everybody's passionate about and wants to see happen. So we're going to do the best that we can to make it happen and have it trend in the direction that we want it to go of U.S. made affordable filament. that is useful for print farms as well as the hobbyist and general consumers out there, because it's a place where a little bit of a shakeup is really necessary, and we think we're in a good position to do that, because filament is something that is a value add to us, but it doesn't necessarily have to be its own separate core thing necessarily. So thank you again, one more time, I can't say that enough, for supporting that, and let us know if there's anything else. Have a great day, everybody.